What if I told you that Supergirl is basically True Grit in space? A young girl seeking revenge teams up with a reluctant hero and sets off across the galaxy to track down the man responsible for destroying her family. That's a fantastic setup, and honestly, there are moments when Supergirl absolutely works. This is a fun popcorn film. It's entertaining, visually stunning, and features a terrific performance from Millie Alcock as Kara. But here's the question I kept coming back to throughout the movie. Have superhero fans finally reached the point where pretty good just isn't good enough? Because when the lights came up, I turned to the person sitting next to me and asked what she thought. Her response was, yeah, it's pretty good. And you know what? I think that's exactly what Supergirl is. It's a fun, pretty good popcorn movie. The problem is that I wanted so much more. First things first, there's a lot to like here visually. This movie is gorgeous. Director Craig Gillespie and his team have created a film frequently feels like you're flipping through the pages of a graphic novel. The colors pop, the alien worlds feel distinct, and there are shots throughout this movie that are absolutely beautiful. And in an era where many superhero films can begin to blend together visually, Supergirl absolutely has its own identity. And Millie Alcock is terrific, and if you were worried about whether she could carry a major DC film, I don't think you need to be anymore. She brings vulnerability, humor, frustration, and sense of uncertainty to Kara. This doesn't feel like a Superman in a different costume. This feels like a young woman still trying to figure it out, who she is, who she stands for, and what kind of hero she wants to become. And Alcock gives the character a lot of charm. And I found myself invested in her journey, even when the screenplay wasn't always doing her any favors. And that's where we start getting into my biggest issue with the movie. Supergirl is based on Tom King's acclaimed Woman of Tomorrow comic, and while I've never read the comic, I certainly heard enough about it over the years to know that fans connected deeply with its exploration of grief, revenge, trauma, and heroism. Watching this film, I couldn't shake the feeling that this movie repeatedly points toward those deeper themes, but rarely commits to exploring them. At its core, this movie really does feel like True Grit. You have a young girl seeking revenge after tragedy strikes her family. She teams up with an older, reluctant hero, and together they travel across dangerous territory in pursuit of this person's responsible. That's compelling, that's storytelling, but here's the thing. True Grit wasn't simply about revenge. It was about justice and loss and morality and the cost of vengeance. The journey mattered just as much as the destination, and Supergirl introduces many of those same ideas, but it often feels like this film is content to acknowledge them rather than to wrestle with them. The movie asks questions about revenge. It asks questions about purpose. It asks questions about identity. But whenever it seems ready to really dig into those ideas, it frequently moves on to the next action sequence, the next visual showcase, or the next plot point. That's frustrating because the movie keeps hinting at something richer. There are moments throughout Supergirl where you can see the stronger film hiding underneath the surface. You can see the movie that might have truly explored Kara's pain, her isolation, what it means to continue choosing compassion after experiencing extraordinary loss. Instead, much of that material feels glossed over in favor of a safer, more straightforward adventure. Now, I want to be clear. I do not think that Millie Alcock's fault. I don't think this is a problem with the performance. I don't think it's the problem with the cinematography. In fact, many of the individual pieces here are quite good. What I kept coming back to was this feeling that Supergirl has all the ingredients necessary to become something special, but it ultimately settles for just being entertaining, and maybe that's enough for some audiences. There's absolutely nothing wrong with going to the movies, eating popcorn, and having a good time for 2 hours. Movies can simply entertain, and there's tremendous value in that. But I also think audiences have changed. For more than 2 decades, superhero films have dominated popular culture. We've seen the genre at its very best, and we've seen movies that entertained us while also challenging us emotionally and thematically. We've seen films that gave us spectacle and substance, so when I watch a movie like Supergirl, I find myself wanting both. I don't think audiences want to settle for fine anymore, because Supergirl is fine. It's entertaining, it's visually impressive. Millie is excellent. There are action scenes that work. There are emotional moments that land. There is enough here for fans to enjoy, and I suspect many people will walk out having a perfectly pleasant experience. But for a film with this source material, this cast, this character, I wanted more. I wanted the movie to take a bigger emotional swing. I wanted it to trust its themes. I wanted to dig deeper into revenge, grief, and identity. And I wanted it to become something memorable rather than simply enjoyable. Maybe that's an unfair expectation. And maybe not. What I do know is when I left the theater, I wasn't disappointed, I wasn't angry, I wasn't frustrated. I just kept thinking about the movie that Supergirl could have been. So what do you think? Did Supergirl work for you? Did you connect with Kara's journey? Or did you, like me, feel like the movie was holding something back? Let me know in the comments. And I would genuinely love to hear your thoughts. Please look for my full review at Real Pete. And always remember, the best critic of any movie is you. I appreciate you going on this film journey with me. And as always, be real.
This does not look like this is gonna end well.